I was like, holy shit, this guy is literally like a physical manifestation of my inner dialogue. This guy is like a physical person, like the physically manifesting my inner dialogue, because the way he speaks to people is the way I speak to myself. I have that inner dialogue to myself. One day I was having one of these conversations, and I was thinking in my head, I was thinking in my head at first, I was like, I really wish I had a friend like that. I wish I had somebody in my life like him, like that would call me out on my bullshit and give me the hard, honest truth when I relapse. I was sober. I was an addict for 6 years. I've talked about that all the time. I was sober for a long time. I got sober. I accomplished my goal of going to the world's strongest man. And shortly after, my insecurities got a hold of me. I did some things that caused a divorce, and I ended up relapsing. At that time, we were still married. We were getting divorced. I was still living there because we were getting ready to sell the house. But my ex-wife, my wife at the time, we had talked about things, and we were cordial. We were friends. We were still good friends, and we had kind of agreed to not date anyone until I had moved out and the divorce was over. Well, shortly after that, a couple days after that, she was like, hey, I'm going on a date. I was talking to a guy, I'm going on a date. And at first I was like, okay. But then the date came, that came along, and she went out on her date, and I started flipping out and thinking the same thoughts that I thought back then. The way I thought was, why wasn't I enough for her? Why wasn't I good enough? Basically putting the blame on her, saying, why wasn't I enough for her? That was my insecurity talking. That was my ego talking. And what I realize now is that no matter what anyone could have done, it wasn't enough. So as I'm sitting there, I'm destroying the house, destroying our memories, destroying things we had. And I was thinking in my head, why couldn't I have had a friend like that, like him, to come in, see me relapsing, and call me out on my bullshit? And then I began to have the discussion in my head. I began to, when he walks in, he asks me, what the fuck are you doing, dude? And I'm like, and I just start like busting out, why wasn't I enough for her? Why couldn't I be enough? What's wrong with me? And in this conversation, I said that several times, and this was the first time I ever actually had a response. And I heard in his voice him say to me that, and it was just like he speaks on camera. It was like, dog, and he yells out, dog, you've always been enough for her. You've never been enough for yourself. And I did not think that thought. That thought did not come from me. It was in my head. At that moment, I was truly tapped in to the collective conscious. I was truly tapped in to infinite intelligence. And I really, truly downloaded a message from that person through the collective conscious, because that's not a thought that I've ever had before. And at that moment, I realized, you know what? Everything I did, it didn't matter what anyone did. It didn't matter what anyone did. Everything I did was because I wanted to feel worthy, and I wanted to feel like I was enough. It's because I didn't love myself enough, because I allowed my ego to convince me that I was not enough and run rampant with me on insecurities. And this is why I talk so much about the ego. This is why I talk so much about mastering the ego and why it's so important. Because until you can master the ego, until you can incorporate these darker sides of you, they're called the shadow, until you can incorporate these and bring them into your life and use them to your power, until you can master your ego, you're going to be ruled by fear, by insecurity, by jealousy, by anger. You're going to be ruled by all these things that the ego uses to control you. And I've never told this to my ex-wife. I've never talked about this to my ex-wife. I've never said sorry. I've never apologized. And that's something that I know I need to do. But I just wanted to share this. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. If you're seeing it, then I posted it. If you're not seeing it, then obviously I haven't posted it. But that was just something that I had to get off my chest, that I was actually tapped into the collective conscious. I got a message from him, and I know that message didn't come from me. That's That was the third message that I've received from the collective conscious, and every one of them have been life-changing. So if you're struggling, if you're seeing this, if you're struggling, message me, DM me, let me work with you, let me help you, let me teach you the things that I've learned to heal myself and make myself better.